What did that kid in your school do that will never leave your mind? When I was in high school, a kid was masturbating in one of the stalls in the bathroom. Then another kid went in the bathroom and recorded him from the next stall over. Video went around and the kid that recorded it got in legal trouble because the kid masturbating was a minor. The conversation turned to farts amongst the 7th grade girls. The new girl, short and squat, and as of yet silent, shook her head and stated, "I ain't never pooted in my whole life." It echoes in my head regularly to this day. I also say it whenever I am accused of farting because it is hilarious. In 8th grade, I was eating lunch across from this very strange kid. I remember him picking up his milk with both hands and squeezing it as hard as he could, then it popped and got all over him, and his reaction was a disappointed look on his face followed by "oh man." One time at band camp, I know a kid started having asthma attack. And as the counselors were helping him, he started shouting this wasn't supposed to happen until Thursday. I still think about that very frequently. This was in elementary school. He got caught stealing from the teacher's assortment of goodies that she gave away once a week to students. She chose students randomly based on a raffle system where you had more tickets if you were behaved. After a huge mess of him crying and trying to say it wasn't him, he asked to be excused to the bathroom where he was gone for a solid 30 minutes. The teacher got concerned, and upon checking the bathroom sign-out sheet we discovered he wrote for the sign-in time never coming back. So one of us went to check the bathroom and he wasn't there. The teacher tells the principal what happened and the police is called in. Helicopter was flying by and a couple cars. They eventually found him walking home. And it just remembered another gem. In 5th grade, the one weird kid brought in a shoe box for no apparent reason. He went around claiming it was a uranium bomb. Although we knew that it was pure bullshit, the teacher sent him to the principal's office, and the dude got in major trouble for a bomb threat. I was in art class and this kid goes, "Hey, check this out," sticks his middle finger down his throat and throws up all over the table. 8th grade sex ed teacher brought in a rubber dildo, new in packaging, to pass around the class. Dildo gets to class, clown kid. He wobbles the dildo back and forth, then sniffs it and asks the teacher why it smells fishy. Needless to say, never seen a kid run out of class so quick. Used an Apple remote, 2009 times, to continually play the "Sucking on My Titties" song on our history teacher's computer. She would walk away and the beat would start. She would run to the computer and he would pause it. She would walk away and he would hit play. Went on for like 20 minutes until she unplugged the computer. Brought a crossbow in and shot another student with it because the kid gave the police a statement about him stalking girls. He was very fucked up. In high school, there was this kid who wouldn't have a conversation with anyone. Spent 4 years with the dude in the same class and never have I seen him say more than "okay, sure, bye." Even though everyone tried talking to him to cheer him up, we thought something was wrong or he was just shy. He would just sit on his desk all day and look right in front of him unless disturbed, until one day we had a big school fight. Those happen a lot in my country. No one expected him to show up since he wasn't friendly with any of us, but dude showed up and proceeded to beat up 5 to 6 guys on his own like a fucking wrecking ball in a construction site. Shit looked like one of those cheesy martial arts movies. After the fight he came back, grabbed his stuff, said bye like it was nothing, and just fucked off. I still suspect to this day he was a robot. A science teacher in my school was cool if a little weird, not in a pedophile type way. His room was always open for the kids to hang out in. He spent a lot or his own time, and I suspect money, managing an animal club which the kids were responsible for looking after. We had hundreds of different animals, from hissing cockroaches to snakes to a 3-foot iguana, mice to chipmunks to chinchillas. He also liked to tell cool stories about his own life, such as the pigs that he kept, Rasher and Bacon, his caving experiences, sailing experiences, etc. He would spend his own time helping students that were struggling and give them extra tutoring if warranted. However, he never tolerated laziness or attitudes and would call out students that couldn't be bothered. Which is where this kid comes in. This kid made a comic book depicting the science teacher raping the students, male and female, while saying his little catchphrases. It was found and brought to said science teacher's attention. A meeting happened with the senior management in the school where they brought the kid's mom and the teacher in. This 6-foot massive teacher, with a huge ginger beard, cried and said he had never experienced anything like it in his life before now. Even the rest of us hated this kid for what happened, and at that age we were really immature. Some girl changed her tampon in the middle of class in 7th grade. In middle school, there was this girl whose long hair kept spilling onto my desk. I asked for her to move her seat, or her hair, and she turned around and fucking hissed at me. Couple weird goth kids hid behind the bleachers during gym class and stuck chili flakes in their dick holes. Not sure what kind of pain for pleasure they were going for, but they both had to leave school early because of it. Saved his piss for a whole week or month, I forgot, and then sprayed it on all the handrails at school. Eventually he was ratted out by someone, and the VP came to get him in my homeroom class and confronted him and our teacher about the accusations. He said it was just apple juice and he was just joking about it, and right when the teacher went to sniff and take a sip from the bottle, he yells, all right, it's piss." Stole around a dozen textbooks, brought them into the boys' washroom, and burned them, setting the whole washroom on fire. Edit high school. A 10th grade girl got arrested coming out of school one day when I was a senior. Nobody really knew why. Then a few weeks later it turns out she was a pimp and was pimping out other high school girls to adult men. In the 1st grade, a kid next to me was chewing on a pen and it ended up exploding in his mouth. Raised his hand to go to the bathroom. When the teacher called on him, he went to open his mouth to ask to go to the bathroom and the ink just started leaking out. Kid was caught furiously violating himself in the bathroom in 6th grade, and gained the nickname Spanky until HS graduation. He did a lot of strange things, but the one I'll never forget is he stuck his pinky in a pencil sharpener that year, and turned the crank as hard as he could. Went around showing other students pictures from a murder. And laughing while showing them. Then hung a Freddy Krueger mask on his locker with a note complaining about not getting attention. Kid in 1st grade with me. We had the 6th graders come and read harder level books with us, reading buddies as they were called. We had a kid named Mateo who was inspired by his reading buddy. His buddy dared him to shove a rock up his nose. Mateo did, then proceeded to tell the teacher and head to the nurse. Nurse just got it stuck farther and had to be sent home. No idea what happened after. If he had the doctor get it or sneezed it out. Same kid also wore a pumpkin costume, fell over and couldn't get up. Looked like the scene in A Christmas Story where Ralphie's brother falls in the snow with all his coats on. Back in elementary school there was a kid who poured gravel into his ears. The dude would constantly run on his arms and legs, all fours through the hallways or any random time. Oddest thing I'd ever seen. Kid spanked it to a movie in Spanish class where a couple girls danced in the rain. I went to Catholic school and during mass this girl sitting next to me didn't fully get up, but just sort of squatted and started peeing in the pew next to me. Girls wore skirts as part of their uniform. She left the school shortly after. Also had a kid who would get a nice big ball of spit in his mouth then let it drop out of his mouth into his shirt pocket. He said he was saving it for later. Catholic school is weird, folks. This kid in my computer literacy class in high school would talk to me nearly every day about his imaginary dragon girlfriend and how beautiful she was. He peed on some random girl's head when she was at her locker. This was in like 7th grade or so. Pretty sure he got detention for like a week, but his social detention lasted much longer. First day of high school, UK 11, kid found a pair of badly soiled boxer shorts in an outdoor bin that had clearly been there all summer. I'm talking caked in a 14-inch layer of dried shit. Proceeded to put them on his head and start chasing groups of people around the playground. Not the best first impression to make when starting a new school. The poor guy never really pulled himself out of the social rut he dived headfirst into that day. He had his entire arm down his pants during orchestra. Unzipped his pants with his teeth in the cafeteria, proving he could suck himself off. It was disturbing. He is now on the sex offender list and looks 10x as creepy as he did back then. In my first year of university there was a kid who wore a dinosaur head covering hat that had a cape attached to it and would walk around campus just staring at people. My friend asked him one day what his name was, and he replied with King Reptar. Weird kid, haven't seen him since. A kid I knew took a poo in his hands and painted the walls in the boys' bathroom. Did not return next day. Next I heard him, he messaged me on FB, "Hey man, what up? You pooping the walls man, that's what's up." Threw a desk at a teacher and it ended up hitting another student. There was a kid who carried knives around in his backpack and was accused of raping a girl in his car at a park that isn't too far away from where I live. He was charged and got out on bail but was expelled. He got a job at a store also near my neighborhood and was caught for retail theft. Apparently his mom would come in and he would skip scanning some stuff. He had just moved to our school that year and every girl had a crush on him until this happened. What seemed to be his mother used to come in and spoon feed him in the middle of the yard while all the other kids played, but many watched. Some were assholes and said stuff. He was a completely able-bodied kid of about 910 years of age. You could see it in his eyes that it was killing him, and that the whole thing was about her. Christ, I haven't thought about that in years. Looking back as adult, I feel disgusted. There was this kid at my school, who would come into the boys' washroom, and literally take a shit in the urinal. One time I walked in on the kid squatting over the urinal, and he immediately got up, washed his hands and said, "Dude, look, someone shit at that urinal." He then walked out. I feel so bad for the janitor. Edit, holy shit, this blew up. Didn't expect this. A girl I went to high school with who seemed sweet, quiet and friendly. She was perfectly normal. She turned out to be a huge mess. One day, a few years later, she beat her 5-year-old stepdaughter to death for not cleaning her room. One day in 5th grade, a kid's mom brought cupcakes and ice cream for the class, and we went outside for Reset to eat them. The overweight kid, who I always try to be nice to because I'm pretty sure she had shitty parents, ate too many of these cupcakes and threw up on the playground. But she proceeded to tell everyone she was fine and was all right to go play some more. Not even 5 minutes later, I'm standing by the door to the entrance to the school and I smell the most horrible smell and look over and, of course, it's the same kid standing next to me. She got real close and whispered to me I just shit my pants. She told everyone who walked by before then that, until the teacher called her mom to pick her up. Weirdest moment of my life because I'm not sure why she would tell everyone that. Girl would put a piece of bread in her mouth and proceed to roll the wet soggy bread mass into a ball. She would then take the ball out and look at it, and then put it back in her mouth, over and over again. First day of 1st grade, a kid shoved a pencil through his own hand, and then just calmly told the teacher and got escorted out of the room. He never came back. Shot at a school bus and killed a girl on board. That kid in our German class was arguing with the teacher about how he doesn't want to study anymore. Didn't hear the whole conversation. But I won brilliant, I heard loosely translates to I am a god. I can delete you. We were 14 at the time. This kid used to drink cups of ranch dressing at lunch. And nothing else. He would have 15 to 20 of those little ketchup cups loaded on his tray and he'd start slurping it down. Pretty sure he had some kind of mental disability, so I don't want to rag on him too hard, but just watching him do that every day turned me off of ranch for a few years. This guy would just combine all of his food at lunch, including the drink, into a weird soup and eat it like that, no matter what we were eating. One guy threw the Wi-Fi router in the library into a wall and broke it. We got a better one after that though, so we all called him Wi-Fi Jesus. Edit, holy shit, rip my inbox. Edit to Electric Boogaloo, I've had this account for 3 days, what even is happening? In my high school's Mac lab, the admin computer had a feature that let all the other iMacs be taken control of at the same time to mirror whatever the admin computer displayed. This was often used to show instructions more easily for in-class computer assignments. The teacher forgot to lock the admin computer during a washroom break. So one kid seized the opportunity to access the mode I mentioned just now. And rickrolled the whole lab, using one of those sites that makes the browser jump all over the screen. Starting it right before the teacher came back. The teacher wasn't very savvy with computers, so she got very agitated, and had to call the IT guy for help. In elementary school I used to be very afraid of using the school washroom for shitting, and one time I shit my shorts in class because I couldn't hold it in any longer. Since I was wearing shorts, the shit ran down my legs and onto the floor. Man. So this kid was a strange one. Maybe something was up with him, but I don't know. He really liked Slipknot, anyway. One day he swore he was a Wiccan. We used to have Smash Bro tournaments and invite kids over to play at a friend's, and he showed up saying he was able to change his eye color. He closed his eyes to concentrate, and he opened them saying they changed. They didn't. He said they became a lighter shade. He tried to show me how to create fireballs, and had this book of different wolf pictures and tried to determine what my wolf form was. He wasn't a bad kid, just weird, so we dealt with it until the incident. He was really into the Wiccan stuff, so 2 of my friends decided to fuck with him. I guess you can say they were metalheads and they had that look. Anyway, they told me they went up to him one day and revealed themselves as demons. One of them, let's call him Vince, said he reached out to him from down the hallway. And said, "Your soul is mine." And made gestures like he pulled his soul out of his body and buried into in the floor. So the kid freaks the fuck out, and begs for his soul back, and my friends leave thinking the dumb prank was over. Later that day, I get a knock on my door and it's the kid. He has a pair of those sharp metal scissors in his hands and he looks frantic. He is aggressive and tells me that he needs to find Vince. He needs to kill Vince and get his soul back. I'm pretty shocked, so I tell him that I don't know where Vince is, and the kid is reluctant to believe me because he has seen me with them. He asked me if I knew they were demons, and I tell them I didn't know. Anyway, I pretty much shut the door on him and he leaves hysterical. Supposedly, he was running around trying to find Vince to murder him and retrieve his soul, but this kid was a pretty big kid, so someone saw him running around in the streets with scissors. We don't know what happened to him. And it obviously, as an adult looking back, it was a fucked up situation for the kid. No one expected such an episode, and back then. I do hope he is doing alright now. However, it was still weird as hell. He walked around in black extra wide Jenko bondage pants with a ripped up fishnet shirt and a black wife beater, cat ears, and a hot pink cat collar that his girlfriend attached the leash to and led him around with in the hallway. He also had black emo hair and wore lots of eyeliner. That dude was living his life with his pet play submissive fantasy. Of course everyone teased the shit out of him for it. But he gave zero fucks. You do you, emo cat boy. In high school, this kid was obsessed with the band Kiss. He would somehow suck on his gums or something and make his mouth bleed, so he could spit out blood and stick his tongue out. Not really sure what happened to that kid and his talent. We had one kid who edited the slides to a song we had to sing during our weekly school assembly. The song was Winter Wonderland, and he edited the last line in the chorus to say walking in a winter fucking land. They cut the music as soon as they saw that slide containing that lyric. It was not really that funny, I'd say, but I had to give the guy credit for having the balls to do that. This kid was the troublemaker voted most likely to end up in prison. He tried to fight teachers, bullied people at random, and generally both gave, and got, a hard time. It was my school's first ever computing class, brand new computer lab and all. How this kid, who I'm almost certain was failing, got into the class I don't know. He sat next to me. I didn't care. School bullies were low on my list of things to care about. He was quiet. He took notes. He tried. And I watched him get more and more frustrated, because the teacher never responded when he tried to ask questions, never tried to elaborate for him once everyone else understood. A few weeks in, I saw him trying to read my notes during programming practice. I looked at his screen, and saw what he'd done wrong. I slid my notes across, silently tapped the part he needed, and went back to my work. It took me a long time to realize that he was quite smart, but had some kind of learning disability. And for that entire year, if he had questions, he asked me. I have the ability to explain a single concept 6 different ways, and would quietly do so until he got it. We never spoke a word to each other outside of that classroom, and I've no idea where he is now, but the teacher announced on our final day that the whole class had passed. We were in 4th grade. This girl who was really quiet would eat from trash and go from table to table looking for food left. She was kind of fat. I was in the same bus route as her. She lived in a beautiful historic house and they weren't poor. We met again in high school. I just said hi to her and wished her a good school year. Later the principal called me to her office because this girl has said I was bullying her. I was so shocked. I had never been mean and was pretty naive, so my principal believed me. After this, that girl would look at me as if I was prey to be cautious about.